This screencast is about fractions as exponents. So remember, if I have the base a, that my root is going to be the denominator, and the numerator is going to be your exponent. Remember, the root goes inside the radical. Right there is my root of the number a, my base, and then whatever that is being raised to e as your exponent. Okay, so let's do some examples. Number 1 is 512 to the 1/3 power. So that 3 indicates the root. I'm looking for the cube root of 512. The cube root of 512 is 8. Should be one that you have memorized. Example 2, I'm looking for a square root. The square root. You don't have to write the 2 in there. It's understood. So you can write it in either way. The square root of 256, though, is 16. Okay, let's try the cube root of a negative number. Can I do that? Keep in mind this exponent is being applied to the entire set of parentheses. So that negative 729, that whole thing is being cube rooted. Can I take the cube root of a negative number? Yes, a negative multiplied by a negative multiplied by a negative will give me a negative answer. So this is going to be a negative 9. Number 4, for example, though, is asking me the square root of the entire number. It's asking me the square root of a negative 25. Can I do that? No. So this problem cannot be done. Now, if it looked like this, that problem can be done. The exponent only applies to the 25. So that becomes the square root of 25, and then make it negative. Just like all of our other problems with the parentheses. In this case, my answer would be a negative 5. Okay? So now let's look at two things. I have both a root and an exponent. So, I'm going to do the root first. Keep in mind, this is asking me a negative of my answer. The 64 is being raised to the 2/3 power. So that negative is separate. I'm looking for the cube root of 64. I want to square that number and then make it a negative. So this is really a negative. The cube root of 64 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So my answer here is a negative 16. Just because parentheses are involved and there is a negative doesn't mean that I'm squaring the negative. Pay attention to where the parentheses are. Parentheses are around the 4, so I square the 4 and make it negative. Now in number 6, this is exactly the same, except now the negative is included. So I'm taking the cube root of that number and squaring it. Notice the difference. Pay attention to where the parentheses are. So now the cube root of a negative 64 is the number negative 4. Negative 4 squared is the number positive 16. Okay. What if the negative isn't with the base, but it's with the exponent? That's exactly the same as if I had a variable with a negative exponent. The negative means take the reciprocal. It certainly does not mean to make the number negative. So this means 1 over 289 to the 1/2, which is 1 over the square root of 289, which is 1 over 17. And in number 8, I have 1 over 512 to the 2/3 power, which means 1 over the cube root of 512 squared, which means 1 over 8 squared, so 1 over 64. And that's it. Keep in mind, whatever your denominator is, that's your root. Whatever the numerator is, that's the exponent.